Well, thank you all for joining today. I know that everyone's super excited to start talking about the future of travel. My name is Kim Wiley. I am the Partnerships Director at Captiv8. We are the leading end-to-end influencer marketing solution. And I'm joined today by Nick Gillum, the Director of Social Media and Marketing at Mohegan. Nick, thanks for joining today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This is a topic I'm very passionate about, as the director of social media for all of our properties, across the US and Canada. We're constantly thinking about what is the future in technology and how do we apply it, how are trends changing, et cetera.
Well, Nick, as we get started, before we start looking into the future, would love to kind of touch back on the past, specifically the past 2 years. Would love to hear from you how Mohegan as a whole tackled the pandemic and what you guys took away from it and learned from it, given the fact of your history and your view of customer experiences. Would love to see how and learn from what you guys took away from the pandemic.
Yeah, so it was definitely an interesting time, as it was for everyone. We here at Mohegan Sun have been open since 1996. We're on tribal land here in Connecticut, and this was our very first property, and it's still our flagship today. And it was never designed to be shut down. We're a 24/7 business. We have hotels, we have round the clock casinos, we have lots of other entertainment. So the thought of shutting down was unthinkable at the time. But as virtually every business had to, we did have to make that difficult decision along with our other properties around North America. I think we were incredibly lucky in that, at least here in Connecticut, we were able to reopen very quickly after about 2.5 months, with new safety procedures in place. And, so we ended up being a place that people could come to, even though, during some, pretty challenging times. We were a place because we're so spread out, because we have millions of square feet of space to spread out. It's a great place for people to come. But we learned a lot, both about the changing consumer perceptions and behaviors, and kind of having to adjust to a new normal, and then now luckily being able to get back to normal.
That's great. So we obviously touched on the fact that you guys are 24/7 business that creates a amazing customer experience and guest experience throughout your entire property and properties as a whole. What have you guys taken away and learned and adjusted in terms of your marketing strategy, in terms of like actually connecting with your guests and creating that experience? One, when they were away from the brand, and now that they're back as a guest on your properties.
Yeah, it was an interesting time while we were closed and while people were very hesitant to visit, because we needed to keep them engaged on our social media channels, but we also didn't want to throw things in front of them that either we couldn't offer them or they weren't ready to experience, whether it's nightclubs or restaurants. And so we had to chart a new path. We started posting a lot of inspirational content. We have a lot of beautiful scenes around the property. So, here's a relaxing video of our waterfall, or, what are you excited to do once you can come back? And, and also we have our back of house series, which is a major initiative for us. We've done 5 seasons of it. It's on YouTube. And, it's a way that we show what's going on behind the scenes of this amazing property that we have. But that offered us an opportunity, because we've created some stars of our employees in that series, and we were able to go back to them and say, hey, show us what it's like now that you're not able to work. What's your life like now? And so our pastry chef was out scuba diving, and so he took us along for the ride, and that was a really fun way to generate some content and keep people engaged throughout a period when they couldn't visit.
In terms of really leaning into the social platforms and the concept of all influencers, like, I love to hear how you guys look to tailor your content to connect to your customers, not only by using your employees, but also other forms of user-generated content, guest content. Can you talk a little bit more about how you use not only your employees for content creation to connect to the brand, but then also how you're using your guests and other influencers to do so as well?
Yeah, so we're really lucky in that we have a lot of incredible guests who are very passionate about our property, and we also have a very Instagrammable spot. I know at one time our Chihuly sculpture that's in the middle of our property was one of the most Instagram spots in Connecticut. So, so it's a place where people naturally come to share social content. So one of the things that we do is really work to amplify the things that are already happening on property, whether that's, a celebrity who's coming and, creating great content, we're working with them ahead of time to share that out. Or, a local food blogger who's just having a great experience, and we amplify that. We also bring in lots of other influencers. We might have someone who reaches out and just wants to come for a stay and maybe a great meal. And so we'll work with them to figure out what that content can look like, all the way up to, some of the bigger influencers, mostly up here for us, it's very regional. Our guests really come from between, New York and Boston, and that's really our core guests. And then, beyond that, maybe a bit more of the East Coast and New England, but we're lucky in that we have so many great influencers, both here in Connecticut, as well as in New York and Boston. So we can pull from both of those markets, whether it's great, travel, travel influencers, fashion influencers, food influencers, whoever it is. It's not a hard sell to get them to come to our property. And, I think it's just a matter of, we aren't, but the one challenge that we have is that, we aren't, while we're close to those, it is a bit of a commitment to come to our property. We're in Uncasville, Connecticut. And so it's a bit of a drive from either one, hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 with traffic maybe. So, just working with them ahead of time and, figuring out the right times for them to come. Our Sun Wine and Food Fest is one of our biggest events of the year. We bring national chefs from all over the country. And that's also our biggest event when it comes to influencers, because, they want to meet those, have meals from the likes of Rocco DiSpirito or Todd English and get to meet them. And so we bring in these great influencers, pair them with these great celebrities, great food and wine, and it's magic what happens.
It's such a great use of content and connection to your customer. I love hearing how you guys look to connect with your customer where they are, to create an opportunity to not only drive net new guests to the property, but then also re-engage your existing guests and remind them of the amazing customer experiences that you guys create at Mohegan Sun, to bring them back and continue that story with them. It just is a testament, I think, to the innovation you guys bring to the table. So in terms of innovation as a brand as a whole, how do you guys look to consistently innovate and keep track of what your guests are looking for and what that guest experience needs to be as the guest kind of changes their needs and wants, especially post-pandemic?
Absolutely. I'm really proud that our history is being very forward as it relates to technology, and both in my direct line of work in social media, but also in other technologies around our properties. One simple example is we have the best slot machines in the industry. It's all brand new games. We're constantly refreshing there. So we know that people love the classics, but they also love the new games. We have kiosks for checking in, and so you don't have to wait in line to get your hotel key. We were one of the very first properties to put iPads in all of our rooms to control the TV and to see what's going on property. Specifically in social, I'm always looking for ways to bring the experience at our properties, Mohegan Sun, but also our other ones, A up in Washington State, resorts down in Atlantic City. We have properties in Pennsylvania and Las Vegas. Like, how do we, for someone who hasn't visited in a while, how can we bring that experience to them? And I'm super passionate about, 360 video and drones and other things that can really bring someone and kind of immerse them in the experience and make them feel, really want to come. It's part of my job, I always say, is to create FOMO and to really make sure that, people, they get that, have that desire to want to come and experience the property firsthand and let them know what's here. Because, outside of our core markets, I think we're one of the best kept secrets in the country. We're one of the largest resorts, and if you don't come from the Northeast, you've probably never heard of us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that if for anyone who doesn't follow along with all of your social handles, I definitely recommend it. Having spent my career following along brands in the social space and now in the influencer space, I can say that your content definitely gives me FOMO and makes me want to come visit from the West Coast. So we talked about how you guys use social and how you guys look at innovation to bring your guest experience to life. specifically, but I also know that Mohegan is looking at international growth opportunities as well. Can you touch on how you guys are looking to balance not only your domestic customer and this new customer mindset and guest mindset, and how you're looking to kind of bring that into the global space for some global growth and dimension there?
Yeah, so we've had incredible growth over the last number of years. I mean, like I said, we started back in 1996 with Mohegan Sun here in Connecticut, but in short order, in the recent past, we've we really focused on I would say responsible growth. Most recently, we opened a casino in Vegas. We have properties now in the Niagara Falls area, Falls View, which is a massive property as well. So learning what that Canadian customer or visitors to Canada want. But we're really excited about the future opening of Inspire, which is in South Korea. And this is a property that's, I don't know, I have a hard time wrapping my head around it, because it's really going to have virtually everything that we have here in Connecticut. And it's going to have it almost on day one. We're building a hotel, we're building an arena, we're building a splash pad or splash park. We're building in retail, convention, and it's all going to be open, 2023. So it's right around the corner. And to your point, it's a very different guest, and so that team is really focused on what do guests who are traveling from Japan, from China, from other parts of Southeast Asia and Oceania, what do they want when they're visiting South Korea. And also what do the locals there, what are their interests? And they have different regulations, different laws there that make it where locals can't gamble. So we have to appeal to someone who's a local who's not interested in gambling. So it's going to be an incredible property, with some of the newest technology and everything that we learned at all of our other properties.
Do you guys look at your content strategy differently when trying to kind of anticipate the need of the traveler coming in and the local guest? And how do you guys look at kind of your audience targeting from that perspective?
Yeah, I mean, each of our properties is very different, who visits and what the mix is of locals versus more maybe regional guests versus national or international guests. And so we especially here in Connecticut, we really have to focus on that and then think about how do we attract someone to the property with our incredible amenities, and showing them they can go to restaurants that they can maybe only find otherwise in like New York, Las Vegas, Los Angeles. And kind of bring them in, whether it's for something like a bachelor party or to see once in a lifetime concert or whatever that is. And then we also have our guests who live right down the street and are visiting on a regular basis. And so the way that we appeal to them is very different. We're in the midst of our hot summer fun promotion, and that's a perfect example, because every day of the week we have different casino promotions for them. On Fridays, every Friday in the summer, we're giving away free t-shirts. So, that's always a huge draw. And then every Friday night, we go out on our patio and bring in a great cover band. We bring in some food trucks. We have fire pits, and everyone just gets to sit out there and enjoy the great weather and enjoy a great concert. And so a lot of times that's locals, but whereas some of the other when Harry Styles comes to town, we might have someone traveling from much further away to see that show.
I can imagine that Harry Styles draws a pretty diverse audience as a guest to the property. So accommodating for each of those has to be quite fun and entertaining, at least on the social media content side.
Yeah, I was just looking at some of our stats from the last year, and I looked at our top 10 tweets of the last year, and 9 of the 10 are about Harry Styles. So even when we were talking about our COVID restrictions and policies around Harry Styles, they still were engaging in just like, just the definition of fanatics.
Yeah. I mean, it just shows you the power of influencers, all types of influencers.
Absolutely.
We talked about earlier more of kind of the micro and nano influencers, but then you can also get into kind of the celebrity level and what that does in terms of creating a guest experience that extends not only from the actual experience itself, but it's something that people take with them and remember a Mohegan property for. So I think it's just such a great testament to your overall content strategy and how you're engaging your guests. So
it's actually a funny thing that you mentioned that, because one of my first experience, so growing up in the Midwest, I hadn't heard of, 16 when Mohegan Sun opened. I'd never heard of the property, but one of my favorite musical artists ended up creating a special for Bravo. It was a Christmas special, and it was filmed live at the Mohegan Sun Arena. And I just remember thinking, oh my God, Mohegan Sun's like this magical place where these great concerts are happening, but never thought about anything more. And then years later, saw it pop up as a job opportunity. I'm like, oh my God, I gotta jump at this, because of that concert I saw, literally, the DVD that I own 10 years ago or more.
It's funny what we hold on to from all aspects of our lives as guests, as consumers, and kind of what those connections to brands are, and what we hold on over time to keep that connection. But like I said, you guys have done such an amazing job creating such robust content that connects to your guests where they are, and the mindset they are, to drive them again as net new guests and or as existing guests and return guests. And so when we think about the content, we think about your audience. When we put those together, how are you guys looking at driving insights about kind of that guest experience that you guys want to make the innovation or adjustments to? And then how are you guys measuring success on the back end to ensure that you're meeting that guest experience?
Absolutely. It's something we're always thinking about. Our guest experience team is sending out, surveys via Medallia, and understanding our NPS and asking very detailed questions about like what interactions they're having on the property. Did they go to our Starbucks location? Did they have an interaction with our security staff or our box office staff? So really, we have a great understanding week to week of how, what our guests is experiencing. But social also plays a role. And on my team, we have community management and customer service for social media. So we are, monitoring those through our platform. I have someone in, we're staffed 6 days a week to be looking at those, incoming comments, whether it's comments on a Facebook post, whether it is, just people, speaking in general on Twitter, via listening, we're listening for those comments, trying to establish those themes. We have tags in our software. So we're actually tagging, if someone is talking about, has a question about our pool or cabanas, or has a question about a concert, we're tagging all that content so we could see those trends over time, and also looking at that sentiment over time as well. And then we have a direct, being here on the property or being closely connected to our other properties, we're, as soon as we see a trend start to emerge, we're immediately reaching out and trying to get clarification, trying to provide that feedback to, the folks on the ground who can make a difference and change that experience, or put that guest in touch with someone who can rectify the situation. Here in Connecticut, we have what's called a Make It Right certificate, and anyone on the floor can pull one of these out at any time if they see a guest having a bad experience or being inconvenienced, and can write it out for a small value so that they can, have, get a little bit of compensation for a bad experience, and just to make it right. So I think, we do have an incredible reputation. We see it over and over again for having some of the best staff in the industry. Everyone has an amazing, experience when they come here, and they tell us over and over again. We see it in all of the feedback data. So, and it really, has been replicated at all of our other properties. We see this, at A. I'm always blown away when I go up to Washington and I visit one of the restaurants, because, it's always some of the best experience I've ever had. So, we have what's called the Spirit of a Quay, which is all about our welcoming, it's our core purpose, and it's how we welcome our guests, and it really goes back to the origins of the Mohegan people, and how they were welcoming and have always been so. And so it's really in our DNA to provide that incredible guest experience, and we believe it translates well to the success we've had.
Do you guys take that value proposition and that connection to that welcoming mentality and your core kind of mission and vision as a company, and how do you translate that into creating content that connects to people in a way that allows them to feel it through digital means, right? Whether or traditional, right? So for
Yeah.
you, from a social perspective, like how are you guys actually taking that and creating that type of content?
Yeah, so I think, a great example of this, if you go to our YouTube channel or just Google All In for Mohegan, this is our brand new campaign, and really shows, about the connections that people are able to have, maybe someone, they've known their lifetime when they go to Mohegan, people they might have met that night, and the interactions that they have with our team members here. So we really, we took it and we actually applied it to our advertising campaign that's right now. But we were always thinking about it, and looking at all the content, and we definitely want to, our experience is really kind of an accessible luxury. So you can come to our properties, and buy maybe a Gucci purse, so you can have a tomahawk steak at Michael Jordan Steakhouse. But we want that experience to be accessible, and so that really is what we're trying to share, and that it's not this out of reach experience. No matter where you are in life, no matter what your financial situation is, no matter kind of what how you perceive yourself, you can come in, feel comfortable, and and have this great experience. We're definitely not stuffy or we're here to provide that great level of service to everyone.
It's always great to hear how brands kind of formulate that connection to their guest or their customer, and how they bring them in at the different parts of their customer journey or purchase funnel, or wherever you are in terms of your brand. So for you guys, when you look at how social plays a role currently, how are you guys looking to drive anywhere from awareness of Mohegan properties all the way down to that final guest experience and bringing them back as return guests? And what is that role of social in that purchase decision?
Yeah, I mean, we have a role in every level of the purchase funnel, and we take that role very seriously, whether it's from driving awareness to people that might not have heard of our property, so trying to really go beyond. We don't have the big budgets that a lot of other massive properties or big brands have, and so we're not able to do national advertising, but social is a great way to really kind of start to expand the geographic area we can target, or reaching guests that might not have heard of us otherwise. And so that's really the awareness, whether that's showing them our new advertising campaign, or just showing them the great our architecture is always resonates well, or our interior design. Like, it's just such a beautiful property, from our fountains to our waterfalls to our sculptures, that that's the stuff that maybe kind of pulls people in to be interested, and kind of pulls people in at that awareness stage. But then we're really trying to drive also consideration, whether it's every month my team helps produce a video about our shops. So we send a member of our team to various shops, and we film them, showing, here, one of the things that, I love about our property is the amount of coffee that's on our property. So, they might show it's funny, because it's like, I go to Vegas or some of the other properties, and, I have trouble finding coffee, but you never have problems finding coffee at Mohegan Sun. We have Starbucks, we have 2 Dunkin' Donuts, we have 3 Krispy Kremes, we have, we have coffee. So, but, that's something simple that we can do to drive consideration, is just show, here are the great food and beverage establishments that we have. And then we also are actually driving, strong business results. And the best example I have of this is on our entertainment side. We recently did a survey of those who were entering our arenas for some of our big concerts, and 90% of them had heard about our concerts through social media. So, we're still on TV, we're still on the radio, but, social media is where people are hearing about us. We have our, I spend a lot of time, it might be an older tactic, but like Facebook events, we make sure that we have a Facebook event for everything. And then we're actually driving advertising behind those, because people will commit, people, especially we see, overwhelming number of women who use that as their social planner, and and are saying they're interested, or tagging their friends and saying, let's do this. And it really drives that social aspect of social media around these concerts, and it works incredibly well for us.
Again, I think that's just such a great way to think about it, right? You understand who your customer is, you understand where they are, how they engage not only with themselves, but with their friends that they're bringing in as a guest to increase their experience with you guys. So, we may think of Facebook events as maybe an old tactic, but I think it's just a testament to you understanding and Mohegan and Son understanding their core guests, and meeting them where they are to ensure that you're creating that experience that lives outside of the property and really allows them to kind of come back in. So I think it's a great way to think about your overall social media tactics. You mentioned that you guys are seeing great success through social. So my last question before we open it up to Q&A will be, what are the metrics that you guys, that as a whole, your team looks at from awareness, from consideration, and from that conversion opportunity? And how are you guys keeping track of those? I know in the world of massive amounts of data, everyone's always looking for tips and tricks on how to navigate the measurement portion of the digital marketing space.
Yeah, so we have, I think, like many large companies, we have a lot of data at our disposal, and I think really understanding it, distilling it down to to the things that are really important and actionable is so important. So I've seen all of the all the fancy metrics that all the platforms can provide and all the different calculations they can do, but a lot of times I come back to sheer number of impressions, reach. Looking at, how are we doing, in our video plays, how are we doing on our channels? So we use Shareably /ComScore for a lot of our competitive intelligence. So you were just looking at, how are we doing, not to say that we're super focused on our competitors. And actually we're a lot of times looking at kind of more best in class. So we're trying to figure out, like, where do we sit as it relates to the biggest resorts in the world that have the best marketing team. So a lot of Vegas properties, a lot of overseas properties. So we're always looking at just simple things like engagements. What is their best performing content? How does their content that's really working well for them differ from what's really working well for us? And is there an opportunity? And the biggest one for me is just the emergence of reels and how many video views and engagements it's really driving. I think we all have known for a while that video, short video, vertical video was the future, but I think it was interesting to me how quickly our industry has embraced it and is seeing a lot of success. So everybody was asking about, what about TikTok? What about TikTok? But I think it's beyond that. I think, honestly, for us, it's more about reels, because we already have the audience there, and it's, and it's learning to build that vertical content, that storytelling content that's beyond just the standard pretty pictures that kind of allowed us to get by in the past.
Absolutely. Well, Nick, thank you so much for walking us through the amazing success that Mohegan Properties has had across the board. Have enjoyed talking to you about how you guys look at content, how you look at your connecting to your target audience, and how you guys are measuring and looking at success for your guests across your properties. So thanks for the time. Are you ready to open it up to some Q&A?
Yeah, and thank you so much for your time. This is I appreciate your thoughtful questions and your expertise in this field. So it's always great to have a great conversation here. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, Nick, you fully spoiled my question. The first thing I was gonna say was come on and go, what about TikTok? Because that is absolutely.
I mean, I can definitely talk about it a little more.
It's the shiny object for sure.
Oh, it is. It is. And one of the challenges that we have is we're based here in Connecticut, so that that makes it we're right at our Mohegan Sun property, so we can walk on and we can film stuff. But we also have properties in Washington State, Nevada, and so we're very reliant on our on our marketing teams there, our boots on the ground, to send us content. And so a lot of the work that we have to do is really coaching them. And everybody, we have some properties that really want to be on TikTok, and but I'm like, so I asked them a lot of questions, like, are you really committed to this? Like, I can't be in Washington every week to get new content. So like, we need you to work with us. And luckily we have great partners, and we've figured out some great content that's worked. A has done an incredible job. They have these hot seat promotions where we'll randomly select a guest, we'll come up to them while they're playing at a slot machine, we'll surprise them, and we'll give them $1,000. But instead of just saying, oh, we'll credit it to you, they bring $100 cash and they count it out. And people love to see these videos and they're on the loudspeaker and they're doing 100, 200, 300. And these videos just blow up, just to see people's reactions, and people watch them over and over and over again. So, so I'm telling all of my properties, like, can we find a way to do this? Or, and the other challenge that we run into with TikTok is that, brands can't always use the trending sounds. If you're a responsible brand and you want to avoid the lawyers knocking on your door, we have to avoid, the copyrighted material. And so, like, how can we be inspired by the trends or find the trends that we can follow, but stay out of hot water and and
that's what every brand has to worry about on all social at all times. How am I not getting in trouble?
Yes.
For sure. I think that from the influencer space or the creator economy as a whole, looking at how TikTok has entered the space and really given creators an opportunity to extend their reach and create new forms of content that connect in a really authentic way is where we're seeing a ton of success for brands across all verticals, but specifically in travel, right? Travel and hospitality is a space where creators naturally feel passionate about the experience that they're having and wanting to share that and extend that to their audiences. And their audiences trust them. It's the right influencers are just an extension of what word of mouth marketing has been all along. But now with higher end, higher produced content that allows brands to showcase all of their best features and value props for their guests and their customers in a way that is more engaging. And so content creators have an opportunity to kind of extend that across all platforms. And it's best when they're working on the platform that's most native to them. So you get to see a lot of success there, and TikTok is no exclusion.
Absolutely. We love TikTok influencers, and, and they can say things that we necessarily, might not necessarily be able to, not to say that, they can go completely rogue, but, they can speak in a way that's authentic to their audience and just isn't authentic for us. I discovered this influencer, Jackson Olson. I found out he had some incredible TikToks. He was doing Instacart deliveries during the pandemic. And I realized, because he was shopping at a local store that, that's only up here, that he had to be local. So we brought him to the property, and he did like a 10,000 calorie challenge where he ate like all this food across the property and, did things that I would never dream or ever ask my team to do, but he was able to do it and just see incredible success. I mean, millions of views on some of his videos. We have this flaming mac and cheese at our Italian restaurant, and the flames are like this high. And just him like just staring into the flames is one of his most viral pieces of content. So again, yeah, and this is one of the ways that we love using TikTok and Instagram is getting that additional reach, getting that additional audience, but also content that doesn't make sense for us to make but does make sense for them.
Right.
Just to get into because I love the internal minutia of stuff. For your other properties, do you have, when they're making content, do you have a strict, like, this is our process, this is what we do, these are our rules, this is my vibe, or does everybody kind of go willy-nilly on their own, or does everything run through Nick?
No. And I don't want it to. Our culture, like everything else that I've talked about, is very collaborative, very welcoming. And so I'm never going to be the kind of person that says that, it's my way or the highway. We're not a strong corporate overlord, but my team does have a lot of experience and, does have, I think, what I try to do is just show the success we're having, and my team does, create the great majority of the content, and then we, obviously are very reliant on our properties to provide us with, what's going on, whether it's just information about something that's coming up or photos or, like there's just a lot of things I just don't have access to. So it's a very symbiotic relationship for sure. And even doing things like going live on Instagram or going live on, on Facebook, we rely on them to do that. So we're creating the majority of the content, but it's definitely not, each one of our properties is a little different. In the case of Connecticut, I would say we act a little bit more like a brand team, whereas on other properties, we maybe act a little bit more like an agency. And each one of them, we kind of feel out and figure out what's the best approach, depending on, the team that's there, what their workload is, what they have access to, what skill sets, et cetera.
Awesome. All right, I'll stop asking all my questions now. Sorry.
No, I love the questions.
great.
No,
Well, then I'm going to go
them.
to the $1 million question. Who was the concert that you saw that made you decide Mohegan Sun was where you needed to be?
So
it's concert, you never said who it was.
I didn't. And her name is Linda Etter. She's actually from, so I don't know if you were.
Linda Etter.
Do you? So her Christmas Stays the Same concert. I have it on DVD, and it was shot at Mohegan Sun, and it aired on Bravo. And so she sings a lot of traditional Christmas songs. She does a lot of like standards, and so I got to see her in concert here in Connecticut recently.
That's awesome.
But yeah, it was just like, one of many. But again, it was this experience that really stuck with me. The fact that, she came to Mohegan Sun to do her Christmas concert, and it was one of the few places in the country that you could see her Christmas concert. So yeah, but I mean,
I had to know. I had to.
Yeah, no, that's great that we have the connection. And we had Frankie Valli was actually recently here, and he
that's fun.
His PBS special is going to air soon, and he filmed that here. We actually had 5 Seconds of Summer here, and they just released a video that portions of it were filmed here. So we have a lot of. Oh, and then we also were we were. I always say we were a star in the film Uncut Gems, because there's a huge plot line in that film about coming to Mohegan Sun. So
there you go.
so we're trying to get out there for sure.
You have every interest level covered,
right? We we're going after. I
was gonna say, speaks right to your guests. Like, you just cover the full gamut of all the guests coming in, and making sure that they're having an experience that's memorable for them, the same way that watching the Bravo special was memorable for you.
Exactly. I mean, we have basketball fans. Like, we have a huge presence in the basketball world. We have a WNBA team that the Tri-Bones, the Connecticut Sun. But then every year we work with the Basketball Hall of Fame, which is located just to our north here in Massachusetts. And and we have the biggest names in basketball. Everyone coming, and so every weekend's a little bit of a different vibe. But the Harry Styles vibe is very different from a Basketball Hall of Fame weekend. So
it must keep content creation very interesting. That's
sure. No, it every day is so different. I mean, I think that's the thing that keeps me passionate about it is other brands I've worked on. I've had the pleasure of working on some incredible brands, whether it be CPG brands or I worked in the power tools industry. I worked in eyewear, and sometimes you're just struggling for content. There's never a day when I'm struggling for content ever.
Now, after you're done, go back, cut this, cut your section of this, put it out on the channels. It's more content for you, and you're set.
Exactly. We have 45 restaurants. We have 2 hotels. We need content. We literally just walk outside and snap a photo of our building, with cool clouds or whatever, and it's and it blows up. So I realize what a lucky position I'm in, because I realize a lot of marketers don't have the luxury, but hopefully some of the insights that we have here today that we shared that are applicable elsewhere.
Perfect. Thank you both so much. I really enjoyed having you on. I'm sure our audience did too. Thank you for your time, and we'll connect offline about some of those concerts, because that sounds like something I need to go do.
Yes,
absolutely.
I need to travel, so I'm going to call you.
Yes, for sure.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great one.